So there's a bunch of other starts, but I want to give you guys a choice so we don't, because I think these are really interesting.
Okay.
So direct mail was one in like programs people are starting. Second, really close behind was ABM, content syndication, so targeted. Okay,
Sure.
but hold on, I'm going to give you the rest, and then you can choose whichever one you want to talk about. Third was customer advisory board.
Okay.
Programs, intriguing. Fourth, this one I cannot wait to hear, but I gave you guys a choice yet. I'm leading the witness. Brand campaigns. Brand campaigns. Now,
those are starts, right?
Starts. So number one was direct mail. Number two, content syndication, ABM. Number three, customer advisory board. And four is brand campaigns. There's others, but those are the top four. Okay, so we talked about direct mail. Any of those other three you want to comment on?
I do, but go. Yeah, brand. I'm going right to brand because
secret, but I can't tell you what it is. All right, good.
Let me say one thing.
Yeah.
If that's a start, you already screwed up, because who the hell doesn't do brand campaigns, and who doesn't think of that as a pillar component of what you're doing? Like, we all know brand drives deals, brand drives demand, as we like to say. So if that's the new thing you're doing, you better be early on and not have brand equity, and you're thinking, okay, it's time to promote the brand. But if you're later on, you haven't been doing it, or you turned it off, I see that as a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you, but I think the reality of the environment is almost everybody has underinvested in brand, especially during the sort of the bountiful times of the pandemic. It was just about capture as much demand as you possibly can. And I some people will hear brand campaigns and they'll think, oh, it's kind of fluffy. The reality is most of us are not creating our own market. We talk about all the time, like, oh, demand gen this, demand gen that. Like, if your whole motion is just demand gen or just demand capture, you are always going to be beholden to whatever market exists. And you're going to get into these conversations around how do we steal customers away from our competitors? How do we get them at their renewal and whatnot? And that stuff's important, right? You want to cut down your competitors as much as you can. But if you're not out there creating a bigger market and establishing yourself as the primary player in it, then you're going to be stuck by whatever serviceable addressable market exists today. And so I think it is beholden on all of us to go out and try to create more of a market. And now I know some monolithic brands that are out now trying to create new markets for themselves. And they don't even have like a good necessarily motion for it because their products are so tied towards a specific buyer. But like, without stating too much of stuff that I shouldn't be talking about in confidence with some of the folks that I know, like people who have largely sold into CIOs and CTOs now desperately want to move into the go-to-market space, desperately. And brands that we think of as primarily being purchased by CIOs and CTOs now want to have a seat with marketing leaders, sales leaders. They want to have an understanding of what are the things that they're doing and how can their product support it.
So hold on. Let me ask a question then around this one. So obviously brand, I think we all agree brand is important. And being the leader in your category is important. So let's talk category.
Yeah.
How do we feel about it? Is it overdone? I'm kind of getting to a point that everybody seems to think that their product can be a new category. Everybody wants to create a category. We have tales of, category king winning and so on. But after those tales, I don't have many that hold up. And I've seen numerous times where a lot of these category creators and kings at the time don't win.
Sure.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, by the way, on our list of guests will be the category design advisors. We'll have them on. I'm doing a workshop with them next week in New York.
And I have done a workshop with them. And what I'll say is, yes, people don't do it well, but if you do it well, you generally do win. You generally do win. And I think that it's only normal to look at either your brand as like, oh, I don't know if this is a whole category or not, or I'm already playing in a category. How do I carve out a niche for myself? But it can be done. And I don't think we have the space on this podcast to talk through it. And we're going to have that team on. So at some point they'll talk through it. But man, when it is executed, it rocks, which is true for everything. Which is true for everything. Email marketing can be incredible if you're really good at it, but most people stink at it, right? And so I think the same is true for category design.
Yeah, Judd, I think you bring up the use case that is the problem, which is we all read Play Bigger, which is a great book, right? It made total sense. And like the examples in Category King and Category Winners is like exciting. The issue though you brought up is like, I think Matt and I talked to Mike Damphouse about it in the Scale Venture Partners office, which was too many people think they need to make a new category.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the issue that you're bringing up. I used to see this all the time as an analyst, man. It was like, I was an analyst for 9 years and people would come and go, we think there's a new category and it's this. Okay. So I'm going to tell you 2 stories, then we'll move on. So one is, did I tell you guys this story? So one of the things I did was I brought the guys that founded Eloqua and Marketo together, right? And I said, like, give me the oral history. We're doing this. I think I brought it up the other day, but like one part of that was the category design. And they had tried revenue performance management and it failed, right? Like I think Marketo had it on their website for 4 months. Maybe Eloqua had it for 5. Okay. So that was, John Miller's like, go look at the Wayback Machine, man. Like you'll see that we tried it, we went hard at it, and we pulled back and we called ourselves marketing automation. All of us in the space thought marketing automation was the wrong term, but that didn't matter because the buyers gravitated to it. Yeah. And Steve Woods, who was taking the call while on a walk in Toronto, goes, here's the thing is we were selling them something they didn't want. He's like, the buyers decide the category, and that's the biggest mistake everyone makes.
Yeah.
And that if the like Damphouse, so Matt and I brought up to Mike Damphouse, he runs Category Design Advisors, and he works with Kevin Minnie, who was one of the writers of Play Bigger, right? We said, like, what do you do when there's already a category? He's like, you carve your niche out. If Gartner already created the category, it's a category.
Yeah.
Now try to figure out how to win there. Right. And that's what you're talking about, Judd, which is like, we can't all start creating new categories. Yeah. Right. And that's bad. Yep. What's now, if you can be the one to invent CRM, you're going to, it's good. Okay. Then you brought the second issue is the category king doesn't always hold their throne. I still think that's true, but they still got to where they are because they won that category. They built it and defined it. Like right now, it's the sales engagement platform market. That thing's up in the air again, right? And like, but it's still a category, and they, and those guys have all tried to create new category. Oh, it's custom.
Well, and I think that's one of the big problems though, is they're all trying to create their own category within a category, which confuses the market.
Yeah.
But when they unify around it, whether it's marketing automation or anything they want, the unified approach creates the category. And I think that people keep thinking that there's this, my company is going to create the category. And it's like, category doesn't exist if there's only one of you.
That's right. It doesn't exist if there's one of you. Number two is if remember, for me, the category design thing is really simple, which is the buyer can articulate the category value prop without talking about the vendors. The vendors are second, right? So they go right now, you go to the market and say, you know what, we need a CRM. Now let's go look at it. You know what, we need marketing automation. Now let's go look at it. That's when that's when the flex happens, man. That's when like, okay, now you got to compete, sure, but like that's where the buyers are. That's where they go to. And I think that's really important. Anyway, we'll make that another. We'll make that.
So hold on.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but I haven't seen Craig this animated in a while, so I'm gonna let you keep rolling. Man, you're excited. I love it.
Was I? That's that. I mean,
I think the COVID's going away.
Yeah, the COVID.
Hey, man, yesterday I was excited to hear about this. Well, actually, you're right. When I found out about the Kava Bowl, I definitely there was some confusion on my part, might have thrown me off my game. Okay, last thing though, I want to bring up. So LinkedIn. So there's 2 parts to LinkedIn. One is it is the place for free social right now for B2B. Is that true statement or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a microphone.
And you know what's wild is that it's gotten more crowded, more noisy, more busy. Yet it's working as well as it's ever worked. So that's an interesting thing. And then the
Yeah.
second is paid.
Yeah, I was gonna say versus paid.
So, but free, like, so, you know, Scott Alro, you know, who I co-founded Tippet and Topo with, right? Like he's starting a new business. He's 1,000% all in on LinkedIn.
Yep.
One post a week. Maybe does he do
More,
more?
I think a day.
Okay, one a day. Yeah, I don't even know. But he's in our feed all the time.
Yes. He's at the top of my LinkedIn feed every time I log in.
He's a real journalist, by the way. Like it's some very little of it self-serving. Like he's writing about the Fed, he's writing about markets and like CEO stuff. It's amazing. And he's been able to build a following, an enviable following.
His content, I know it's we're talking about a couple of months back now, but his content when SVB was going down was some of the best I read anywhere. And I don't just mean on LinkedIn, I literally mean anywhere. It made it all make sense in a way that was so stick simple. And I was like, great, now I know what's going on.
Yeah.
On the sidelines at the time, right? Since Craig and I were working together at Scale then, but like, wow, I was like, okay, cool. Now I feel informed enough to have a conversation. I will say in general, the content that he puts out, in addition to it being very good, it gets a shitload of engagement too.
Totally. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, so he was following Sam Jacobs, right? He's like, because he's amazed at Sam. He's like, Sam is like 2 a day, I think, in even weekends.
Probably.
And he's like the discipline is incredible. And I'm just, you know, because it's Scott, he's actually a pretty humble guy. He's like, oh no, Craig, you got to go look at Sam. And so, I mean, the rules of content apply, right? What we're talking about here is Scott writes great content. He really does. And then number two is there's a lot of bad content too.
Oh yes, there's plenty of terrible content.
I will say this, like right now, I think we're also at a point where content rules the world. It's all like there's nothing we're doing that content isn't driving in some way, shape, or form. Yet it's still undervalued in a lot of areas. The people who are creating it are undervalued. And I think we're going to see some type of market shift or change soon, because I'm talking to these amazing content creators and they don't get paid that well. They're doing a lot of work. They're creating a lot of content and a lot of them good content. You know, I mean, something's got to go. Something's going to break or shift soon. So I love that, like, great content's out there. And, you know, I guess you go to great, there's good content. So what? And so LinkedIn to me is that so what? I see a lot of content flinging around, but what does it lead to? And I think that's the big problem in LinkedIn. A lot of people know it's a great channel. They know they can do something there, but they have no idea how. And that's what's making things noisy and ugly.
Yeah. Let me give you some, let me give you an anecdote here. Because I think that this will help contextualize some of the way I feel about it and some of what you're talking about here, Judd, is we did, at my company, we did a user summit, a sort of branded corporate event. It was virtual, right? And I was like, I'm scared to death of a virtual event. Like, who wants to go to those anymore? Like, whatever. But, you know, we're not at a place where we can do anything in real life just yet. We started our promotional plan for it about 8 weeks out. 6 weeks out, we started to really kick things into high gear from like, we're inviting people, we're running ads, we're sending out emails, blah, blah, blah. And, we're about 2 weeks out from the show and Reg is way underperforming. We're in like the 300 people. Our goal was to get 1,000 people to this thing. In the 2 weeks leading up to the event, we went on a social, specifically LinkedIn. We echoed everything on Twitter, now X, which I would like to call Twitter now X. Anyways, we just blocked out the sun on social, and we added 1,000 registrants in the 2 weeks leading up to the show without doing any more emails, without doing any more ads, just putting up nothing but, in my opinion, really compelling content about why you should go to the show, the people that are going to be at the show, the sessions that are going to be featured, et cetera, et cetera. And we crushed our registration goals, crushed them. And it did, I mean, did it cost us money to produce the assets to be hosted on LinkedIn? Yes. Did it cost us very much money? No. And that's the place where our audience lives. And I know a lot of people say, well, LinkedIn is a place where sales and marketers live. Everybody lives there. If you're a professional, you live there, right? And I think that there are lessons to be learned around the way Gong went to market early on and what they were putting out on social. And people keep saying, hey, I want this Gong effect. I want this Gong effect. But as in every tactic we've talked about on today's show so far, if you don't do it right, it doesn't really matter. If you're not willing to put in the time and create really compelling content that's optimized specifically for that channel, this is not a place for definitive guides for lead scoring or things like that, like long form content. It's just, hey, can I put an idea out there that someone can just see and immediately understand?
Yeah. Boom. Okay. Paid LinkedIn. I know you threw it in there, but like, I was all excited to talk to you about that, Matt. And then you're like, eh.
No, I mean, I paid LinkedIn works really well for us right now. Really, really well for us, but it's still expensive. And that's the tricky part, is it feels hard to say that, like, well, over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, I'm going to 10x my spend here or 20x my spend here. That just doesn't feel like it scales all that well. So number one, understand that the cost there is going to outweigh the cost of, traditional search ads like Google, or if you mess around with Bing or whatever, or even other social channels like Meta. It's expensive, but because you can get very, very targeted. Now, I'll caveat how targeted you can get, because if you want to target a CMO, easy. CRO, easy. CTO, VP of sales, VP of marketing, director of demand gen. Like, you're talking about like direct hit names, easy. But that's not the way most people are titled anymore. People have titles all over the map. So it creates a lot of difficulty when you're like, hey, I want to serve an audience that's maybe mid-level management. They're involved in process that looks like this, but company to company, that could be somebody of a different role. And so sometimes what surfaces from campaigns like that, if it's bottom of funnel and you're trying to get somebody to take action, like request a demo or speak to sales, is you just turn up the wrong person. And there's nothing as heartbreaking as turning up the wrong person from a LinkedIn ad, because it's so expensive. So there's much more to be done there in terms of their targeting abilities. I don't think it's there yet, but if you're like, hey, I know who I'm going after, it's a CEO, or I know who I'm going after, it's the, director of HR. Great. Like, you're going to be fine. It's that mid-level management where you're like,
I would even go farther to say that I don't think this is LinkedIn something they can solve personally, unless they do some type of campaign to get the user more involved. Because what do we see on LinkedIn? People don't really put much on there. Maybe they update a title from time to time. The people who know how to use it, maybe it's like a resume, makes life a lot easier because they'll put what they do. But the vast majority of people, it's I work here.
Yeah.
And that, with titles changing constantly, with the prioritization internally and how people are moving and shifting what they do to make the company work, man, it's only getting harder. So I really don't see a fix to that unless they go more external versus internal.
Yeah. Okay. So
Craig,
Matt,
you faded. Come to the forefront. You faded.
Yeah. Get in here, man.
While you guys were talking so much, I had to go relax, like lean back and relax.
Wait. So hold on. You got any more? Because I got a couple side things I want to pull through.
Okay, you could do a side thing. Let me just ask Matt this though.
You got it.
So I give you $1,000 for online advertising. Divvy it up. Where do you put it?
Well,
go to dinner.
Yeah, I mean,
No. You can't do dinners. No channels. Like, I'm talking like
no. That was just let's go to dinner, because $1,000 ain't get you anywhere.
Oh, okay. You're right. It was the number. Yeah, you're right. By the way, I'm not sure $1,000 gets you. Well, no, it'll get you dinner. With Matt, it depends if. Yeah. Okay, go, Matt.
Okay, so let's take the $1,000 and let's make it $100,000. I think optimized, you'd want to have I think if you were fully optimized, you'd want to have 2/3 of it in search ads and 1/3 of it in LinkedIn. The challenge with that is if you're operating in a category that's or just a product is in a nascent space, there's not enough search volume for you. So that's hard. And like, I'm just speaking from my own personal experience because I'm mired in this on a daily basis. I'd love to see our digital spend optimized for Google, right? Because just the unit economics there are so much more advantageous than the unit economics at LinkedIn. But we don't have people that are searching for our category just yet because it's small and it's starting. So we have to spend more on LinkedIn. So the challenge is, you want to get the attention of people who've never heard of you before, who maybe don't know your category, but are experiencing the pain of what your category solves for. You're going to end up spending more on LinkedIn because you can go directly to those people and tell them the direct story right in the place where they're spending most of their time. And then as the category starts to grow, your brand awareness starts to grow and people have an understanding of your value prop based upon the category that you serve, there will be significantly a higher search volume. So it's a weird kind of teeter-totter moment where it's like, I'm spending a ton on LinkedIn and this feels like I'm going to go broke. And then the market hits and then you can go spend way more on Google and reduce your spend on LinkedIn. And you can really build a digital strategy that'll scale.
Here's a good follow-on question. How many ads on LinkedIn have you two clicked on in the last month?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think especially given the fact that you can't do the DM ads anymore. So here's what I'll say. It depends upon how you define click. I love like these ads that have the scrolly stuff and they have all kinds of information. I mean, I'm clicking on it. I'm clicking on it. And the content is compelling. I'm going to learn more. So,
but is that because you're a marketer and great respects great? Or is it because you're really interested?
Yeah, it's because I'm really interested. I think most marketers would tell you if they see good marketing, they sort of they kind of trash it a little bit because they're like, I should have thought of that, or it's only good because they can spend so much money. I'm like by nature a hater. And then if it's bad, you trash it because it's bad. So going after marketers is really challenging. I would say anything that I'm actually engaging with that is an ad, it's because I'm genuinely interested. What I'll say is also I never click on like search ads because if I'm searching for something and I find it, I'm like, I'm going to save this person the 30 cents. I'm just going to go directly to their homepage.
Yeah.
I know they're
Greg, what about you?
Well, I mean, none.
Yeah, me too.
And, well, first of all, search ads, I never do only because the experience is so bad.
Right.
Like, cause I know I'm going to a landing page.
Yep.
And if I'm on Google, my intentions are very earnest. Like I want to go, do some research. So I do it.
Yeah.
I don't click on, I do click on ads. I do like consumer stuff. If I want to buy something, you can get me on those, 75% off, whatever. Or if it's something interesting, like from a consumer perspective, but from a B2B, I don't. That said, I don't forget that much. And that's why I'll just go back to what we talked about before. It's a mix of everything. And the most important thing is, can I triangulate around the key buyers that I care about?
Yeah.
You can, without me clicking, plant a seed in my head for the next time you reach out to invite me to an event with ads across anything. I don't care. You just got to get to me.
Yep.
That will plant a seed in my head, and everything has to work together. But like that does work. Like I do remember I remember this at Gartner because I'm sure everyone was trying to hit us, but like I'd go get a briefing and I would go in with going, oh God, I know those guys. And it's because they push stuff at me at LinkedIn and maybe on, some kind of ad network or whatever. And so, no, I didn't click on it, but that doesn't mean that I don't think that it has.
So the cool part about this, and this goes back to where we're talking a little bit about brand campaigns, to some extent, like the fact that you're doing it has that secondary effect that it acts as a brand campaign. You see something enough, you have a higher likelihood of engagement. So, you know,
Yeah, totally. I think that was good.
Thanks for tuning in to GTM Unfiltered. To hear our innovative insights and strategies, visit gtmunfiltered.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time.